Good afternoon. Welcome to the Teachers Retirement Board meeting for September 26, 2019. I'll start by taking the roll. John Adler?
Here.
Thomas Brown?
Here.
Natalie Green-Giles?
Here.
David Kazansky?
Present.
I have the wrong person here. Russell Buckley?
Here.
Deborah Penny?
Here.
And John Dorsett.
Here.
Okay. We have a quorum. So the first item on the agenda is the update from TRS operations, and Kavita Caldwell will give us that.
Okay, thank you, Patricia. Nearly 2,100 members retired over the summer with a retirement date between June and September. 96% of these members are receiving advance payment or finalized retirement benefits as of September's payroll. Over 10,000 members elected to increase their TDA contribution rates in advance of the retroactive payment that they will receive on October 15th under the UFT contract. The retroactive payment provides members a rare opportunity to make a large one-time deposit into their TDA account. TRS contacted eligible members by email with instructions for adjusting their TDA rates before and after the payment. TRS conducted an email campaign to members who need to receive a required distribution or RMD for their TDA account. Nearly 12,000 members who received the RMD notifications in the spring but did not file an election received an email in July and a follow-up email earlier in September. Those who do not file an election will receive a distribution at year end. Beginning with October 30th, 2019 board meeting, all board materials will be made available to the board members using the Convene app.
Thank you, Kavita. Next is a report from the actuary.
Thank you. So the first item is the fiscal notes report. There were actually some fiscal notes that were issued over the summer, even after the end of the legislative session, just because we might have got the data late, or because we were told by our state contact that it wasn't a priority for this legislative session. So there were three fiscal notes. The first one might sound familiar. This is a foreign equities investment cap. We actually had done this before, but instead of raising the cap from 10% to 30%, this revised legislation was raising it from 10% to 20%. I think there was a little bit more support for raising it to 20% at the time. So we did do the fiscal note. There's no cost change to it, just because the initial one even said that there was minimal to no impact on the employer contribution, and this was similar. The second fiscal note had to do with cost of living adjustment. Currently, spouses of retirees who elect a joint survivor annuity are allowed to have 50% of the COLA that the retiree received when they were alive. This is changing it from 50% to 100%, and the cost on that was $174.2 million in the first year of contributions. The last fiscal note had to also do with cost of living adjustment, and it was changing the requirement. So currently, you have to be either attain 62 years of age and have retired 5 years of service, or attain 55 years of age and retire for 10 years in order to get your COLA. This legislation would change it to the age requirement to 55 and keeping the 5 years of service, or 5 years of retirement. The first year employer contribution increase would have been $29.7 million. And my understanding is none of these passed before during this summer. Second item is just a note that the GASB 7475 report was issued earlier this month. This is a report that basically states the accounting numbers for the OPEB, the retiree healthcare benefits for the city. And that report is available on the OA's website under the reports tab if you're interested in taking a look. And the last item is the TDA loan insurance premium rate. This might sound familiar because we recently did the QPP loan insurance premium rate. And again, this is when members borrow from either the QPP money or the TDA money, they're required to purchase insurance for it in case that they do not pay off the loan before they die. their beneficiary wouldn't get a reduction in their retirement benefit. So this insurance basically is, the payout for it is the amount that they would have needed to pay back on their loan. So there's no reduction. This is done, according to the resolution that was passed previously, setting this program up, that this should be reviewed once every 5 years, which is on a different schedule than QPP. And that's why this wasn't brought at that time. In the past, it's also been done on a different time frame within that 5 years than the QPP. If you recall, the QPP rate is adopted every year on July 1st. So the intent is to put this on the same calendar, same time frame, to do it as a QPP going forward after this, so that everything is a little bit more consistent. We are also looking at the loan balances to see, the reserve balances, I should say, to make sure that they are consistent. We're talking with TRS accounting to make sure that we can get some consistency. So that you might see this again within the next 5 years, just to give you a heads up. But the rate is currently at 0.3%. The recommendation is to keep it at 0.3%. If you recall, for QPP, we reduced the rate from 0.2 to 0.1%. And the reason why it's higher for the TDA is because under the TDA program, retirees can take loans out on their balance, whereas on the QPP, once you retire, you annuitize, and there's no loan to be taken out. So because retiree mortality is a little bit higher than active service teachers, retirees, that's why this rate is a little bit higher. So this rate is tacked on to the interest rate that is charged on, that the members would be paying on their loan. So this is an additional 0.3%.
What's the interest rate?
The interest rate is 7% or 8.25, depending on if you're a UFT member or not.
So what was it number?
7% for UFT members and 8.25 for non-UFT.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is the Executive Director's Report, and the first item is the matter of the next meeting, and it's been suggested that the next regular meeting of the Teachers Retirement Board be held on the 5th Wednesday of the month, October 30th, 2019. So, calendars.
So that's unusual.
It is unusual.
But I think it's already on our calendars, right?
Yeah.
Should be.
Okay.
It's one day premature, but may I wear a costume?
You're not wearing that?
I'll wear a John Morrison mask.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next item on the Executive Director's Report is the authorization to the Controller of the City of New York to invest certain QPP funds.
Please waive the reading.
Chair.
I'm just reading this.
Oh,
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Adler. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All opposed? The motion carries.
the next item is the authorization to the Controller of the City of New York to invest certain tax-deferred annuity funds.
Again, please waive the reading.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All opposed? Any opposed? Sorry. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Wait. Is it aye?
Oh.
Aye.
Oh,
Hold
sorry.
on. Look. Okay.
I'm off.
Hold on. Do it again. I had that on the record.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is the request for the Board of Trustees to adopt the actuary's recommendations regarding the tax-deferred annuity loan insurance premium rate for loans originating on or after October 1st, 2019.
Please skip to the resolve.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby adopts the recommendation of the actuary as stated in her report dated September 13th, 2019, and stipulates the TDA program loan insurance premium rate be continued at 0.30% per annum of the outstanding loan balance for any TDA loans originating on or after October 1st, 2019.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kazansky. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Adler. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And next is the attendance at conference. The following resolution is presented for consideration of possible adoption. Resolved that the trustees of the Teachers Retirement Board hereby approve the attendance and participation of the executive director and/or her designees and any interested trustee at the National Council on Teacher Retirement's 97th Annual Conference from October 12th through the 15th, 2019.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Dorset. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next is the calendar, and you all should have received an electronic version of the full calendar. First item on the calendar is the matter of the approval of all of the minutes for the months of June 6, 2019, investment meeting minutes, the June 19th, 2019, SIM minutes, and the June 20th, 2019 board meeting minutes. We want to adopt the...
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We'll jump up. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next is the calendar itself. Is that what we do? Just adopt the whole calendar?
I think David waived the reading.
David
Okay.
does. And David will ask to waive the reading of the calendar. All calendars, in fact, in this packet.
Okay.
To adopt all calendars? Is there a motion to adopt all calendars in the packet?
So moved. Second.
Very
Thank
anxious
you.
group.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to approve and accept all calendars.
So next on the agenda is other business. We did send out with the executive director's report, the IV&V report from the vendor who's doing our modernization review. And so you all received that. I did want to say that in May, we went live with phase 4, which is primarily death benefit claimant, the death benefit claimant process. When we went live, there were some quality issues, both with the data that was converted from the old system to the new system, and some quality issues with the functionality that was provided. So there were, some delays as we had to respond to, fixing some of the data that was moved over, as well as fixing some of the functionality. So we have delayed, and right now we've got everything running smoothly. That should have been running smoothly in May. We're now processing all of our claimants and paying our beneficiaries through the new system. But we did have a delay in the project because of some of the quality and data issues. And that's all I have to say, unless you have any questions.
Just a question on that. Did the delay impact the beneficiaries, or did you run just parallel systems so the benefits were paid in the same time?
No, the delay impacted our beneficiaries. So our lesson learned is, and we're going to be looking at our future implementations for the phases that are coming up to do a parallel, rather than to impact the members it was the beneficiaries of our members, the way that they were this time. So there was some negative impact on some of our beneficiaries, which we deeply regret.
So Patricia, moving forward, once all the paperwork is filled out and they get the death certificate and they fill out whatever forms, what is the time frame approximately?
So we're talking about that. So So it's a two-step process, because first we receive a notification of death. Once we receive the notification of death, we send out the information, what we call a beneficiary letter, letting them know what their benefit is going to be, and then we follow up giving them a claim form to go online and to, So we send out the benefit letter and we ask them to send us the death certificate. So then that's the first process, right? And then once we receive the death certificate, we send out the claim code number for them to go on and to submit the claim. So in order for us to get the benefit letter out, and in order for we said that it's going to be like a 3-week, 4-week turnaround. Then once we get the death certificate, it's from there forward that we're looking
So
at.
the claim, would they fill out the claim form, and then how long till they expect?
Well, once they fill out the claim form, they should expect it within 1 to 2 months of receiving their claim form. But there's like a month before that where we're going back and forth, asking for the death certificate, receiving the death certificate, getting the beneficiary letter out to them with their exact benefit, and then giving them the claim code to go online and request their claim. So all in all, it could be 3 months.
Right, depending on how they fill out the forms. Thank you.
I mean, that's our worst case. That should be our worst case scenario.
I will note that as somebody who has gone through that process in 2013 and 2014, that is a significant improvement on what it was.
Oh, is that right?
It was 9 months for me from start to finish.
Well, they're always, I'm not saying this is the case for you, but, you know, delay, if a person doesn't get us a death certificate, a lot of times we wait a long time. We don't move forward. We can move forward to let you know what your benefit's going to be, but we can't go forward with the claim until we have a death certificate. You know, so, and sometimes, once we then send out the claim form, a lot of times people delay on getting us the paperwork to process the claim. So I'm glad that we're improving it. 9 months sounds like a terrible long time to wait. So hopefully we are improving it. Thank you.
And if I could add, from what I understand, TRS put a lot of man hours into this project to make sure that they kind of caught up to speed and got the death benefits back on track sooner than had they not put that extra effort in. So I want to thank TRS for making sure that they took the time and the resources to speed up the process once the problem was discovered.
Thank you. It's unfortunate we had to do that, but we did put everybody on it to make sure that we got it fixed so that our beneficiaries were not being negatively impacted. I'm just going to say, every system of implementation is a painful thing. It's never easy. It's never, we're all human, so there's the human component, there's the technical component. So as I say to the staff here, we can, hopefully, you know, we learn from our mistakes, but we can expect that every implementation of each phase is going to have some pain associated with it, because it's just part of the process.
Can I just ask, does this have an impact on the overall timeline for the modernization?
It does have an impact on the overall timeline.
So do you?
But it's, we haven't really looked at it all, to be honest with you, because there are a lot of things impacting our overall timeline, which would be the Galena, which would be the change in the option factors, which would be the changes to the passport fund, all things that we had to take resources off the project to work on in addition to this delay. So we're going to be getting together and looking at the whole entire impact to the plan, and maybe jettisoning some stuff for, you know, that like might be a nice to have, taking TRS, maybe taking over phase 7 by ourselves and letting the consultants go. So we're just going to look at how we can mitigate the delays.
Okay.
Right?
So,
But we have delays.
So at some point there'll be a revised timeline?
Yes.
Do you have a sense of when we could expect to see that?
don't you wanna be out of office by then?
I will be out of office by then.
No,
So
you
that's
should.
the idea, is just to delay it until I'm finally out of office.
No, I'm sure.
We're on the record, so it doesn't matter.
You know, within the next few months, we should have a timeline, to work it all out, and then come back to you with that.
Okay, and just one other question, so that, I take it that your conversation means that we're staying within budget and we're not looking at increasing the budget, and that's why TRS might take over part or some.
Well, we're looking to be able to mitigate, having to increase the budget, but we have to take a look at it, because time is money, but we'll do our best to mitigate that.
Thank you.
Is that it?
But there will be, I'm sorry, I just wanna say, but we will be coming back for budget mods for Galeno and
Yeah, that,
for the other
of
things that
course.
we're adding.
If Galeno ever gets to the point of.
Well, we're doing work on it already, because we're doing.
We've had some submissions.
We're at the
So we're right now have a whole group of people who've been moved over to completely understand Galeno and the impacts to the system, the impacts to TRS, and then to come up with project plans and estimates for what it's gonna cost for us to implement Galeno. So we are working on that now. I mean, and we'll be ramping up more and more.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none. Okay. I guess that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, all those opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned.